Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hard Choice, Simple Steps for Showing Up. My name is Brad Draper. Let's do this. Yes. We get to talk about one of my favorite topics. I do this every year. You can go back 1 year from now and you'll find the exact same topic that I talk about. Go back 2 years from now. Pretty sure, maybe I didn't talk about it then because the podcast had just launched. Man, I don't even know. I think we're going on 2 or 3 years. Yeah, been going a while. I think 3 years. How cool is that? Coming up on 3 years. Every week, never missed a week. Super cool to think about. The power of consistency. The power of doing hard things. And that's a little bit what I want to talk about this today. At the end of every year, every December, I do what is called a Misogi. If you recall back, I have spoken about this. A Misogi was done by the Shinto warriors. It is known as a water cleansing. So what they would do is they would do something exceptionally difficult. They would embrace the suck and do something hard. Traditionally, that meant they stood under an icy waterfall or they treaded icy water or something dealing with water because the purifying, cleansing powers of water. But in today's modern world, that means do something that is year-definingly difficult. Something that most of humanity would never consider, let alone accomplish or do. Most people would laugh at you and say, yeah, screw that. That's basically a Misogi. So you want to come up with something that just purely sucks. Historically, first year 1, I went and walked the hills of Chino Hills, California with an acquaintance, a friend, and we walked from sundown to sunrise on Christmas or the night before Christmas Eve. So the eve of Christmas Eve. The next year, I walked around my neighborhood, which was a 4.5 mile loop by myself. It was 26 degrees. Everybody bailed. Year 3, I walked around my neighborhood here in a different town, and there's a bunch of hills because I live on a mountain. 2 people showed up. We accomplished 35 miles from sundown to sunrise at the end of the year. This year, I decided to do something a little bit different. I decided to do it during the day. I had a thought. If I decrease the level of suck through the night, which I've now done it 3 years, and it's not really a big deal. I really know how to do it now. And so the sleep deprivation isn't really bothersome. It didn't bother me last year as it did previous years, especially when you have somebody to speak with or talk to. So I did it during the day to try and encourage more people to come. I decided to do 3 movements. I did kettlebell swings. I did a banded chest press, which I'll talk about turned into a push-up. And then I also did banded curls. The kettlebell, I started out with a 33-pound kettlebell and then moved to a 42-pound kettlebell and then went to a 58-pound kettlebell. I was increasing difficulty because I realized I was trying to make it to where my last 20 or 25 rounds would just totally suck. So it's those 3 movements followed by a figure 8 lap around the building, which was 0.53 miles. Do that 49 rounds or 49 different sets, you accomplished a marathon. That was the goal. Walk a marathon and do those sets. And halfway through, I realized I always rounded up to 50. Why 49? Do 50. And come to find out, 50 was an exact 27 miles. Let's go. That's awesome. So I decided to do the power of one more. And I taught my kids. They came with me for the final round of 49 laps. And when I finished, I said, I'm going to do one more. My son said, well, didn't you just finish? Didn't you just do a marathon? I said, I did do a marathon, but you can always do one more. You can always push a little harder. So I was teaching my sons the power of one more. So I did 50. And as I'm doing this, I kind of realized I tried to make it harder. It wasn't hard enough. And so I made it harder by increasing the kettlebells, doing push-ups, increasing the band weight for my curls. And yeah, I was definitely sore to say the least. But I was isolated and alone for 30 laps. Nobody showed up because it's just too hard. It's too much to ask for most people, not some people, for most people. I had plenty of people that wanted to, and I even had some that would have, but some life situations happened. One of them, he tore his calf at work 2 days prior. The other one, he was miscalculating his schedule with his family vacation. He was coming home that day. He thought he would already be home. What I want to get at is the power of Misogis and the power of doing hard things. The concept is you end the year with something so difficult it defines your year. But then you start the next year where most people are laxing off with holiday parties, eating like crap, not going to the gym, not taking care of themselves. They have vacation days they're using like crazy. They're slacking off at work. They're slacking off in pretty much every area of life because it's accepted. But not you. You're doing hard things. You're doing things that most people would never consider, let alone do. Like walk a marathon and do 500 kettlebell swings, 500 push-ups, and 500 curls. Intermixed with a marathon. Greater than marathon, or walking through the night, or what have you. Whatever your heart is, it's not defined by any one thing. Whatever movement you decide is what you decide. It should just be so difficult, you never forget it. That kind of momentum that starts a new year is indescribable. It will blow your mind with how much confidence that fortifies. When nobody else is there with you and you're still executing. Nobody's holding your hand. Nobody's making you do it, but you're doing it anyways because you said you would. And then my wife, it was so cool. On lap 49, there were my whole family. I had a cool photo with me, my wife, my 2 sons, and my daughter in her stroller. I've done this since my oldest was 3.5. My middle was 1. And before my daughter was even born, I started. And I will continue to do them my whole life. My wife decided, she says, next year I want to do it with you. I want to continue to do this together and do it as a family when time comes. And we decided to create a rite of passage. When our kids turn 8 years old, they can join us. They may not accomplish the whole thing, but I feel like Aiden is old enough to where they can decide to do hard things, to push really hard, push past where they think they can really go, and then whatever that is, whether they walk until 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or midnight or 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. But as long as they push themselves, that's what I want. And then at some point, they will graduate to where they do the whole thing. And how cool that is. The first one I ever did, there was a SEAL Team 6 member and his whole family. He, his wife, his 12-year-old son, and his 9-year-old daughter. The kids accomplished. The daughter made it till about 2 in the morning and then passed out on the couch. She was too tired. But that was so cool to see. And we decided we're going to do that same movement the same day every year, but the location is going to change. We've already planned next year. We're doing it in Moab. How awesome is that? Walking the street of Arches National Park in the dark through the night and having pit stops along the way. What a cool experience. And I can think of very few other ways to have delineated proof of your grit, your resilience, your determination, your discipline, your confidence of doing hard things than a child who's watched their parents do it from as long as they can remember. And then when they turned 8, rite of passage in the family, you get to join the family in the Misogi. And then through their teen years, inviting their friends and their friends thinking they're nutty because their friends do 5K turkey trots, or they sit and watch football with their family eating garbage. Whereas our kids are doing exceptionally difficult things that would break most people. So cool. I want you to think about your life. I want you to think about what you're doing and how you're instilling hard things, overcoming trial, adversity, chaos, tumult. And how does that shape you? When you get really pushed against a wall, you get really broken down, you get really hurt. Are you still enduring? Are you still moving forward? There's a man that I greatly look up to, I greatly admire, the Iron Cowboy. His name's James Lawrence. He's local here in Utah with me. And he and I have done a full distance triathlon together. I've done a marathon with him, and we've accomplished a fair amount of pretty cool things. But it was on day 6 of doing 101 Ironmans in a row. 101 days, 101 Ironmans. I want you to think about that. On day 6, he had already cracked his tibia. He already had his toenails fall off. I was on the marathon with him that day, and I watched him collapse to the ground. And then I watched his wife sit down with him, hold him for about 10 seconds, help him to his feet, and tell him to move his butt. And then we proceeded. And he ended up doing all 101 Ironmans or full distance triathlons in 101 days. That was awesome to see. But the power of their relationship, the power of doing hard things together and independently. What a cool experience to witness and then do my own version of hard. For me, that's been walking 4 miles or 3 miles through icy winter in shorts and boots and a beanie. I've done that. I've mountain biked through mud up a mountain to the point that it was probably too dangerous. I have rode a road bike through an ice storm and gone a long distance. It was 70 miles. It was much further than I expected. I've done these very exceptionally hard things because I've stepped it slowly over my life to do hard things. And then I can teach my kids to do hard things and show them by example doing hard things and then usher them in to a life of doing hard things. I want you to think about your life and what that would do for you. How would it change for the better by doing exceptionally hard things, things that take you to the breaking point and then go past it. See how far you can really push. What I'm trying to say, what you are really capable of doing beyond what you think you can do, but proof by actually doing it. I want you to think about your life and how often you are putting yourself intentionally in uncomfortable situations. Become comfortable in the uncomfortable. Where you focus, you find. Are you focusing on growth, expansion, winning? Are you focused on just making it through the day? Are you focused on losing or trying not to lose? Which, by the way, you're focusing on losing. Where are your thoughts leading you? And with those thoughts, what actions are becoming and are you taking? And with those actions, what opportunities are you finding? And conversely, with those opportunities, what are you thinking? Right? It's a cycle. How important it is to do these difficult things. I want you to analyze your life. It's a new year. I want you to place purposely hard things in it every day to overcome. If you do them early in the day, the rest of the day goes so much easier, I promise you. Like this thing, subscribe to it, download for future listenings, share this episode with those people you know need to listen to it. It is the only way this show grows. Leave me a review on Spotify, on Apple, on Amazon, wherever you listen to this thing. It greatly helps, and I love reading them. I love watching you guys win. Have a conversation with me. You can find me on socials, Mr. Brad Draper. Until next week, I love you guys. Bye.